festive episode of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 117. You're joining myself, Chris, in all my festive tinsel. Sorry for audio listeners if tinsel makes a horrible noise. Alongside the man of many festivities and pixels, Mr. Richie.
I feel I just came casual today.
You wear this on a weekend. This is your weekend garb.
Yeah. For audio listeners, I wear a Santa hat on the weekends anyway.
He's also a gnome. Kind of look like a bit of a gnome there.
I'm not that small.
I mean, people don't know. People haven't seen you in real life.
That is true. Some people have.
Some people have.
Most people who watch the show probably haven't.
I mean, I'd hope so. That's slightly concerning if not. For what is, everyone, I want to stop thinking this tinsel now. Because it's either going to irritate my neck or it's going to piss off our audio listeners. So welcome, folks, to another great episode of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the Stadia and gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/HadesCloudGames or out there on your podcast service of choice. Which, right now, Richie, off the bat, we have to let our audio listeners out there, the good couple hundred of you who tune in every week on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Pocket Casts, all of those. On Spotify, I've heard it on the grapevine, Richie, on the Christmas tree grapevine. You can now rate podcasts on Spotify. So if you are one of the people, if you go to our Sounds of Stadia podcast page, and if you've listened to enough of the shows on Spotify, you can give us a star rating now. Don't know how it's going to work, don't know how it's going to help the algorithm, but if you could give us a rating, we'd appreciate it very much. It helps other people find Stadia content. Just like clicking like down below, Will, subscribing and hitting that bell so you're kept in loop with all of the Stadia content we bring you here, like our first looks, like our Let's Play series, like our Thursday night live streams, and the side quest show we always do. We've got a great show. What have you done? Have you rated us, Richie?
I'm about to. When you go into the show, you can go into the triple dots and there's a section that says rate show.
Rate show? What would you give us after 117 episodes?
Oh, it says I have to listen to the show first.
I mean, that's only fair. That's only fair. You've got to listen to the show.
Yeah. But you know what? I actually like that feature.
It means people can't just jump in and...
Yeah, I have listened to some of our shows on Spotify, but I tend to watch it on YouTube instead.
Yeah, I prefer watching podcasts on YouTube as well. Just like hundreds of you do every single week. So welcome for, as I said, a festive episode. This is Christmas week, folks. It is, at the time this will go live, it will be the 20th of December. So only 5 more days until merry old St. Nick slides down your chimney, steals your pies and your carrots, and does whatever else he gets up to. Or it might be the Grinch who shows
Isn't he meant to give you gifts, not steal from you?
No, he takes mince pies and stuff now. Who knows? Everyone's got their own beliefs and traditions. But not too long. So if you've been a good girl or a good little boy out there, hopefully you might have a premiere edition under your tree. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there getting premiere editions this very Christmas. Great show lined up, Richie. It's Christmas. We've dug deep into Santa's sack to pull out all the best treats, all of the latest news. Not like that. We've got stories from the Assassin's Creed world with Ubisoft. We've got new games potentially coming in the Sniper Elite franchise, ties to other games, exciting new rumours. We're going to be paying a visit to the rumour mill this festive season, Richie. Digging that out and talking about everything else in the world of gaming. So, before we do start with everything, we probably just want to pause for a moment, thank all of our members, viewers, listeners, everyone who's stuck with us throughout 2020, 2021, and into 2020 as well. Thank you very much. We do hope you all have a very Merry Christmas with your family, friends, and loved ones. It's a very special time of the day. It's been a tough year for everybody, so hopefully just take stock, take some time to relax, enjoy a video game or two, enjoy some mulled wine, or are you a fan of eggnog, Richie?
I don't think I've ever had it. I think the concept of egg in an alcoholic drink just doesn't sound good to me.
No, it really... Now, we have over in the UK snowballs, which... Is that eggnog?
Yeah. I think it might be.
It's yellow and people only drink it at Christmas, so that tells me...
It's weird drink, I just don't touch it.
I just eat the cherries. That's my thing. I just go for
what,
the
glacier, glacier.
And then drink the juice.
They're good.
But yes, we do hope everyone out there has a great time. Just relax, take some time with your family. Obviously, those working, shout out to everyone in emergency services and stuff who unfortunately don't get some well-deserved time off and rest. You're doing amazing work, so keep that up. It's been, again, a tough year for everybody, but we'll see it through. We'll get through to 2022, which will hopefully be much, much better. But yes, don't let that impede you having some fun. Enjoy some food, festivities, and play some games out there, folks, because that's what it's all about. Enjoy wherever you have fun the most. Richie, as we get into the show, we usually run for about an hour or so, of course. We've got a very special episode lined up next week. So even though we are in the Christmas season, we won't be skipping a week.
Basically, Chris is a slave driver and he's making us work.
That's what I do. That's what I do here, even though I don't pay you at all, or you don't pay me at all. But yes, you won't be missing an episode. So I know some people out there love it as part of your routine. Next Monday, the day after Boxing Day, it's a bank holiday here in the UK. But do not fear, it will be up same bat time, same bat channel, episode 118. And you know what, folks? We may even have a little surprise for you all to celebrate Christmas and New Year. So keep an eye out for next week. But of course, we're here for this show. I will point out I may cough at some point, so I do apologise. I've got a chest infection. I've not slept much in the last 3-4 days. I've probably had a handful of hours worth of sleep. I've got my fluids here with me. I've got two drinks just to keep me going. I've got a thing of Cavonia for chesty coughs as well, just to help out. Cough medicine with clout, those will know that. And I've got a little sidekick with me as well, who's going to see me through the show this Christmas as well. Of course, Book of Boba Fett starting soon. Little baby Yoda there celebrating Christmas, as all Jedis do, as per tradition.
I've got one on the windowsill behind me, but he's not wearing a Santa hat.
Everybody has a little Grogu out there somewhere. But Richie, let's get to some gaming topical news and discussion. That's what the fine folks are here for. That's what they've tuned in for. This week, this past Thursday, you and myself dove into the new free-to-play Battle Royale 2D animal chaotic action that is Super Animal Royale on Stadia with our lovely community out there. Give us your first thoughts, Richie. I
really enjoyed it. It's like PUBG, only it's a lot faster paced. The maps are smaller and it's in 2D. It's just good fun.
And what animal were you? What was your animal of choice?
I was a skull cat.
A skull cat.
That's what I call it, a skull cat.
I was just a fox.
Purple skull cat.
Fantastic, Mr. Fox, nonetheless. But yes, I'd echo that. We played a good couple of rounds. Funnily enough, we had the most fun, not in the main game, but in the zombie spin-off.
Yeah, it's really good fun, because the problem with the main game, with any battle royales you have, is if you're not very good, you're going to die quickly, and then you have the first stage of the game where you're just collecting weapons, and then you die.
Instant death.
And then it's alright, it can be quite difficult to get into them, but with the zombie mode, you came back as a zombie chicken. So you got to keep playing.
It reminds me of anyone who played Time Splitters out there, the virus mode. So on the map of however many people, one would start infected, and then as they would work their way through the map, they'd slowly convert everybody over to their team. So eventually it ends up being the survivors versus the infected. And it just creates for a really fun dynamic as you hit about the halfway point, when all of a sudden the people who are the undead chicken monsters, the power almost tips, and you can start to overwhelm the lesser people. But respawn and coming back, and as you said, not having to return to the lobby 10 seconds after landing on the map. It's a nice feeling to have. But Super Animal Royale, we will be playing more of that over the coming weeks, months into 2022 and beyond, no doubt, as they improve. Of course, season 2 has just started, but it's free to play. So if you've not checked it out yet, it's well worth it. It's one of those games I feel like you could jump into for 10-15 minutes, or you could commit an entire night. It's entirely your prerogative for that one.
Yeah, definitely. It flows quite quickly, so you can just play a game or two and be out within 15 minutes and on to something else.
Yeah, we'll definitely be checking more of that out. I had a fun time with it. Anything else we've been playing, Richie? There is something we have played, but it's being saved for the news. What about yourself? You been twiddling those sticks on anything?
Bit of FIFA. I've got about 4 career modes on the go, and I just bounce between them based on whatever I fancy. And I've also been playing a bit more of Tales of Arise.
Digging into the old Tales game. It won a few more awards over the last week, I've noticed. As the various outlets put out different, I think IGN put out a few awards and stuff as well.
The only thing I think it suffers from is a bit of the Tales series has always been big in Japan, but hasn't really exploded in the West, and sometimes the voice acting can be a bit iffy. There's sometimes where the conversations feels like people don't talk like that.
All our base belong to us.
Sometimes the level of emotions will just suddenly ramp up or drop down. It's like, what the hell's going on here? But it's fine. The narrative's still good though.
Yeah, if Squid Game has taught anybody stuff about dubbing and voiceovers this year, you will very much know that the rates of like overacting or drama, like you said, emotion can fluctuate quite quickly.
Yeah, I'm tempted to actually just switch it into the Japanese dialogue and just deal with subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
I have subtitles up anyway, so like.
Good, I don't blame you at all. But that's what we've been playing. Have you got any? Yeah. Have you committed to any major plans whilst you're off over Christmas? I know you've got some time from work.
My major plan is not committing to anything. I'm just going to be very non-committal over the Christmas break and just have a break. That's what I've been craving it for like a month or so. Just looking forward to get to Christmas, have a break.
Get good stuff.
So that's. I might record a bit of content over the Christmas break. I might not. I'll see what I fancy. That's I'll probably just take a couple of days off just purely to myself. I'll just binge Tales of Arise for like 2 days, like after Christmas Day. And then as I start getting a bit stir crazy, I might go, okay, look at yourself, Richie, you're a mess, go deal with that.
Indeed. I think you should take some time as well and go to the cinema to check out Spider-Man No Way Home as well.
We should.
We certainly will. I saw it last night.
Yeah.
Awesome. For anyone who's out there thinking about it.
I've seen some spoiler-free reviews, and it's like, I need to go see that film.
Yeah, definitely. If you're a fan of Spider-Man in any way, shape, or form, it's one for you. But spoiler free, I had an awesome time. I can't. It's one of those movies. I finished it. I got home last night. I was like, I need someone to talk to about it. But then immediately at the same time, I want to go see it again. Like it's one of those.
We'll go next week.
100%. I'm down for that completely. We'll find an afternoon or an evening to go check it out. But yeah, awesome movie. Go check it out. But we're not here to talk about movies, Richie.
Yeah.
I've played this week some Super Animal Royale. Played a little bit more of Chorus. Ticking over another. I don't play that much Chorus. I tend to just jump in for an hour and then jump back out. Yeah. I'm all over Pokemon Sword at the moment. By the way, I'm at the final part of it.
I was looking at. I must admit, I was on eBay the other night. I was looking.
Yeah.
I
think
hearing you talk about it. It's like, could I? If I was thinking, if I could pick it up on the cheap, but I haven't committed anything yet.
I got that bug the other week, and I've just been chipping away on my Switch again. I haven't touched my Switch in over it, like probably since I played Sword when it came out last Christmas, and yet there I found myself putting 10-15 hours into it this week.
Yeah, I haven't since Bravely Default 2 came out earlier in the year.
Yeah. I've also got my my card collection started to build back up, Richie.
Oh, you've committed.
Yeah, I've got.
You're going hard in Pokemon at the moment.
No, I got a trainers pack that came with like the 25th anniversary sleeves as well.
All right.
So I've got all these ones, but actually playing Sword and Shield, there's all of a sudden like loads of Pokemon. I'm like, I know who these are from the game. Get shiny Mews in there. But yeah, I've got the bug, but I'm very aware financially. let's
focus on just use the game and probably maybe a bit of the anime to satisfy the Pokemon bug, because getting into the trading cards, so you're putting money down on something that's just going to collect dust, and you go and find them in the air and going, oh, that was fun, but I've spent way too much money on that.
Richie, they don't collect dust because they're in these fancy new sleeves.
The sleeve will collect dust, though. The sleeve will collect dust.
Well, they're so cool. Oh, they just give me nostalgia. Yeah. Yes, I'm a 32-year-old man still collecting Pokemon cards, folks. But what I'm also doing is talking about games, and not only card-related games. Of course, Nintendo started off way back when as a card company, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
And here we are, 100+ years later, and Stadia is only 2 years old. And yet they're compared side by side like equals on many.
And they still haven't released a trading card game. Damn it!
That was the trick. They should have started off with a Stadia Cloud trading card game and then evolved over many.
Isn't that just NFTs?
I mean, let's not even start. But let's dive into all the juicy Stadia news for the week, Richie, by introducing us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the Christmas news.
Ooh, the Christmas news, indeed. Of course, none of it's really Christmas related, but it's happening at this time of the year, so everything gets to be fair, everything's had a festive tinge since October.
As soon as Halloween's out the way, like Christmas begins.
Yeah, poor Halloween doesn't. Poor bonfire night, firework night doesn't really get its fair shake. Because everyone pivots to, I mean, of course, it was blown up.
Because Bonfire Night is very much just still a UK only thing, as it should be.
Yep. Very odd.
It doesn't have the whole Americanized over commercialization of it, so it's just like it is still just one night.
Yeah. And let's remember, it is celebrating essentially a terrorist attack on our government. So probably something that you wouldn't celebrate if it happened today. So it's a bit of an odd one for the history.
I don't know.
I mean, we'll see. But best story of the week, folks. You've asked for it. In fact, a lot of people have asked for it. He's been teased multiple times across many, many games. Hell, we've covered him many, many times on the podcast as he's made his little cameos across the Ubisoft games portfolio. It's confirmed, Richie. Ubisoft have confirmed, they put out a tweet this week showing a little teaser announcement. They have greenlit at Ubisoft Toronto a remake of Splinter Cell.
There's a couple key words in there. It's very clearly in an interview on Ubisoft's blog. It is a remake, not a remaster. Mm-hmm. They are building this game from the ground up, but preserving the original ideas of the first game.
Yeah, it's so.
Which, for me, this is what you need to do, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I think they've had that break glass in case of emergency moment with all the stuff with the new direction like the company's taking going, like trying to monetize the hell out of everything, and with NFTs they went, we need Splinter Cell. Remake Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
Smash that glass. It's got the blank check in there.
Yeah, it really needs to. So it's Ubisoft Toronto. So they're going to be leading the game. Obviously Ubisoft gets support from all their other smaller studios around the globe as well. But the game will be rebuilt from the ground up, like you said, using the Snowdrop engine, which you'll be familiar with seeing in a lot of Ubisoft games such as The Division and such. The Toronto team are also the folks working on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which we had a tease for this past summer. Yeah. As well as the upcoming Star Wars title, which they've yet to show anything for, other than let us know that they're still working on a Star Wars game. So Ubisoft Toronto, at the moment, very much probably the flagship studio for Ubisoft outside of the Assassin's Creed team.
Yeah, well, is it Montreal that's on the Assassin's Creed team?
It jumps around through.
It jumps around, but so it seems like they're trusting Toronto quite a lot here. The interesting thing is, though, because they've got two big games that I'm guessing will come first, this is going to be well enough in the distance. Yeah,
I have a feeling that this news story would have been kept in the dark for quite a while longer.
If it wasn't for the probably the NFT news,
if it wasn't for the backlash,
and that reaction.
Yeah, if you think about all the stuff they've had to deal with all of the legal goings on with like HR, well-being, workplace related stuff, and then the NFTs alongside like Heartlands and was it Heartlands? Frontline not landing well. Yeah. I feel like they've had about 3 or 4 beats back to back to back, which haven't been accepted by the gaming industry.
It's not just a few isolated stories though with Ubisoft. It's kind of the direction as a corporation they're moving in.
Yeah.
That's ruffled people's feathers a bit.
Indeed.
So that's like, this is why I'm glad this is a remake, because any question over, are you just going to take this franchise and turn it into just another open world Assassin's Creed style collectathon full of 90% fluff content and then support it for years and then have a half-assed story in there.
Are you going to put rabbids in there?
Yeah, it's that, with this being a remake of the original game, it's like go, okay, you can play the original game and get a good idea what this game should be.
Yeah.
But with a modern twist to it.
Well, that's it, yeah. So to reiterate, they've said new generation visuals and gameplay and the dynamic lighting and shadows the series is known for. They've got an interview. If you go check out the news.ubisoft's blog, they asked Matt West, who's one of the creative leads on the team, you're approaching it as a remake instead of a remaster. And again, he says, and I quote from the article, to me, a remake takes what you do in a remaster and goes a little bit further. The original Splinter Cell is a lot that was amazing and revolutionary at the time, but it did come out 19 years ago. The gaming public now has a more refined palette. So the idea of a remake as opposed to a remaster was probably the preference of choice. And I think that makes sense.
I don't really like his definitions there, because I'd say a remaster is you take the game as it is, give it a lick of polish, up-res it and move on to more modern hardware, like fix some bugs, but the game is inherently from the code level the same game that it always was. Where a remake, I take it as you take their initial design concepts and do it again,
just
from scratch.
Yeah.
So he seems to think it's like I see what he's meaning. It's like you are taking it another step further, but for me, it's a completely different approach.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we've seen, obviously, Dead Space has been teased in a similar fashion where they know the stuff that made the original game so beloved, like the horror, the stuff, but they're going to very much just crank it up to the max. And I feel with a remake, I don't think there's any necessarily beats in Splinter Cell that are kind of like obviously there's great moments in it, but they could essentially retell that story like Bond did with Casino Royale. It was the same story but just changed like enough for modern times.
Well, actually, the thing is, because things like the story and stuff are already kind of fixed, a lot of the level design will be kind of fixed already. They're probably skipping a couple of steps there with a remake. It's like, I think the best example for me of a remake is Final Fantasy VII, because that game is still Final Fantasy VII, but it's not the same game as the original Final Fantasy VII.
It's only half.
If that makes sense, it's like, yeah, there's that. There's the fact it's probably a half, if not only a third of the game, but it's like the game plays very differently, but it is still all the things that make Final Fantasy VII special are still there.
Yeah, they also go on in the interview to say the phrase "stealth action refined" from the original game has proved to be essentially the guiding light through the early stages of this development. Which again, it goes to say, I think, in the void that's left by Metal Gear Solid, Kojima's moved on to other things.
Yeah. That
kind of stealth, espionage, action, single-player, story-driven content. We see it in other games where they go off and do amazing story content, and I think people there is a thirst for it. And we saw, like, let's face it, Sony's entire first-party success, and arguably what drove the PS4 to do so well, was its titles like Uncharted, The Last of Us, God of War, Horizon. Yeah. They're all single-player stories that, yes, they don't sell the massive millions that Call of Duties and stuff do, and sports games, but they bring people over because that's what audiences want.
They sell enough that Sony is happy to keep making them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's one of the things why I think people get... I know I get upset with Ubisoft when it feels like sometimes they've just taking things off a production line and they're trying to fit all these mechanics and ideas and monetization strategies into any game they can. And you often, I think, to the detriment of the game itself. Like, trying to turn everything into this online, persistent, shared world is not always the best. Yeah. I'm very pessimistic about Assassin's Creed Infinity, to be honest, because of that. It's like, no, I'd rather you go a different route with Assassin's Creed, because this game is inherently, for me, a single-player game. So really focus on that line, like really drive home the single-player experience.
Yeah, it's
but they might nail it, they might not. Who knows? Yeah. It's just it's not the direction.
I have a lot of...
Which is why I'm happy with this Splinter Cell thing, because this feels like Ubisoft. This could be the time that Ubisoft, if this game comes out, is well received and sells well, it might make Ubisoft take a step back and go, actually, we can do both.
Yeah,
they've got the capacity.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they definitely have the capacity. But it just makes me think, when you've got teams working on like X-Define and stuff like that, those funds and that talent could have been used in such better areas. Again, it's just my opinion. I'm sure there are people out there who love it. But for me, who's only ever dabbled in Splinter Cell, is a massive Metal Gear Solid fan, and I'm a big fan of Ubisoft games, as we know. This could be like a great jumping on point to not only re-energize people who beloved franchise from yesteryear, but also new people who are looking for like something different. I think it's a great jumping on point.
I think I've only played the first Splinter Cell game on the PlayStation 2, I think it was, but I think I was probably too young to get it.
Same, yeah, I think.
And it's like, and that's why I don't think I ever bothered with the series too much, which is kind of why I'm kind of excited to go back and play it again as an adult with like a more adult sensibilities, a bit more understanding of like the geopolitical conflicts that go on in these sort of games that were just, who's the baddie, who do I shoot? Well, it was like the past.
Well, that's the kind of balancing different for me, whereas like Metal Gear Solid, same. The whole politics and future dynamics and Sons of Liberty are straight over my head. Cool ass bad guys, crazy psycho mantis people, and people who can dodge bullets and half a vampire or whatever with bionic legs and all that kind of stuff. That's what draws me in as a child. But yeah, obviously Sam Fisher, it's set in the real world, so it's kind of like that whole Jack Ryan, James Bond, Jason Bourne kind of thing, where as an adult I feel like I would appreciate the more inner politics of terrorism and global threats and army protocol.
Yeah, you appreciate the themes more rather than just the spectacle.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's the same with James Bond. That was definitely more grounded, but at the same time they had crazy ass villains like Jaws and Oddjob and stuff like that. So, and people with fair nipples. But we digress. It's a good jumping off point for Ubisoft. I think we're definitely in agreement. It's a long, long time away. They're only just hiring for this game, so...
I think at the earliest we're looking 2024.
Yeah. Key question, though. Does it come before or after Skull and Bones and or Beyond Two Souls? Beyond Good and Evil 2, sorry. Get my name right.
It's after Skull and Bones, because I think that's slated for next summer.
We'll see.
Last announcement, I think.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check my details there. And Beyond Good and Evil is vaporware.
Yeah, we'll see.
It doesn't really exist.
It's just there to build hype for people.
It's like every E3, it's going to be a case of, okay, it could drop now and we'll get it next winter.
Yeah.
And then it just doesn't come.
Well, I'll tell you what is coming, though. Our next story of the week, Richie. And not only is it coming, it's coming thick and fast. Ubisoft dropped... We teased it on last week's episode. We had the confirmation on Monday. Ubisoft has finally lifted the lid, Richie, and Ragnarok is coming to Assassin's Creed Valhalla next March. They've lifted the lid for Valhalla for its second year, which they've confirmed. It will be additional to the Season Pass, but it started off with some DLC crossover. We'll talk about it on our next story. These stories are probably in the wrong order, I'm realising now as I'm talking about them. But essentially, Valhalla is going to be a massive 35-hour mythological expansion, which is just insane. So we've had leaks come through for probably the last month or so. We've covered it. But as we dive into it, yes, March the 10th, it kicks off with the Dawn of Ragnarok, developed by the same people who made Assassin's Creed Rogue, so that is Ubisoft Sophia. They've just actually released that, of course, on Stadia, Assassin's Creed Rogue. This is a hulking mythological chapter, like I said, weighs in at 35 hours, has its own feature map, and it's not going to take place in England. However, the map is going to be about 1/3 of the size of England from the main game. And primarily, we are going to visit the Asgardian realms, one of the 9 realms, and more importantly, the Dwarven realm, I want to say Svartalheim.
Svartalheim.
Yep. I want to say, I've probably pronounced that wrong, but either way. To quote from Eurogamer, the realm is being invaded by fiery Muspelheim warriors, bringing new enemies to fight and godlike powers to learn. More fantastical abilities, such as being able to infuse weapons with elemental powers, teleportation arrows, and the ability to resurrect enemies on your side will feature. New divine gear sets, new stories, villains, and in the meanwhile, you will be focusing on Odin, obviously as Odin, and his son Balder, which everyone will remember if they played God of War, with the fiery demon Surtur, which everyone will remember from Thor Ragnarok. It's the big fiery guy with the horns. Oh no, Thor's in a cage. That kind of.
It's almost as if all these franchises are based on the same mythology.
Yeah, almost. So yes, you'll face off a base against the big lava demon, and I'm hyped for this. My favourite thing about Assassin's Creed Origins was delving properly into like the gods and Anubis warriors and stuff like, and God of Ra and Osiris. The fact this is really, really doubling down on Ragnarok and the end of the world, and it just sounds cool. Sounds so cool, and I can't wait. I know it's a bit of a while off. Confirmed for Stadia, we should point out as well, folks. The logo is on there at the end of the trailer. I don't mind paying the extra, and this is again back to our Ubisoft Splinter Cell conversation just now. This is taking a story campaign and essentially giving it another whole lease. 35 hours, Richie. And we know that can be quality content because our kind of attached story to this one, as part of it, is this whole kind of announcement event kicked off with us, you and me, travelling back to Assassin's Creed Odyssey to team up with Cassandra as she essentially gets tied in with Valhalla in a crossover story spanning the ages, which is insane. So to kind of confirm that is a free DLC story with Cassandra in the older game Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which brings that character across to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, leading into next spring's launch of Ragnarok. What are video games, Richie, now?
Yeah, it seems Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed are taking a weird route at the moment, where they've decided to continue in Valhalla for another year, and to do that, to kick that off, they're giving it. He's a big. I wouldn't call this DLC. I'd call this an expansion, like in the old style. Like he's a decent, significant chunk of new game on top of your old game. But with the crossover stuff, I could be really excited for this if they keep dropping them as like just a kind of like free DLCs into previous titles. That kind of continues Cassandra's story, so we really get to know more what she got up to. Because spoilers, she's immortal. I thought I'd give a pause there just in case you didn't want it. But yeah, so what she's getting up to, and like it really, I've had a bit of a bug to play more of it actually after we played.
Yeah,
like I want to know more. I love the lore of Assassin's Creed. I think sometimes the execution of the games isn't fantastic. That's my bugbear with Assassin's Creed. Is like, it could be better.
Yeah.
That's why I always feel with Assassin's Creed. This could be so much better. But no, apart from Infinity, which I don't have very little interest in at the moment until more information of what that is comes out.
You got
and what little
Infinity
information we have, I don't really like the sound of. Continuing Valhalla, Assassin's Creed crossover stories, these sound like good ideas.
It's one of those moments, if you go watch, because it's available on our channel, folks, if you want to go check out my and Richie's adventure back to Odyssey. It's just one of those things where we said many times on this show that games look beautiful and gorgeous nowadays, and going back to sun-baked ancient Greece and seeing like just the sights and playing as Cassandra, and again it's a game we've not played for probably well over a year and a half since we finished our Road to Valhalla series. And it's still like pick it up and play. It took a little bit while to get used to the controls again, but then all of a sudden you remember like, we bumped into some old friends as part of the story DLC, and you're kind of like, I remember that. You get kind of like almost like a nostalgia hit a little bit, and then
it leaned into that a bit as well, actually. Yeah.
And then from that, now we know her character's going to continue into Valhalla, which you and me have both put 100+ hours into. There's a whole spoiler cast for Valhalla up on our channel, and then it's just kind of like, where does it go? Do we keep just building on it? And then we've got the Ragnarok Valhalla, and it's a crazy world that we live in where we've already had 100+ hours out of Valhalla, and it's going to give more. And in fact, they're going to go back to Odyssey, and it just it's so awesome. And as someone who loves mythology, like I've always been such a fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise because I'm such a sucker for like ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient Rome. Give me all that stuff. Like anything baked in mythology is it's so rich for storytelling. And that's why everyone goes back to it. But you're definitely right with the Ragnarok thing. There is definitely something in the air. I think MCU kicked it off. Did MCU kick it off, or did MCU take it from? Because we've got God of War.
Well, the thing is,
Thor's all, and then Valhalla, all within such a tight.
With Thor being a major MCU character, Ragnarok was always going to be on the cards, and it just seems. I think for any like Viking, Scandinavian mythology, Ragnarok is kind of one of the biggest stories to come out of that, the most well known, the most widespread. So a lot of franchises are just going to lean on that if they need something big. Yeah. But Ragnarok was brought up time and time again during Valhalla when you were like playing as Odin.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's what he was trying to prevent. He was trying to prevent it, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's we'd all try and prevent if we could. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see how their take on the characters that we already know. So again, from playing PlayStation 4's God of War, we've met Baldur. He's not in the MCU, but we've met him as one of Odin's other children. We know Odin is like in mythology. Odin's an arsehole. He's not the amazing father he is in the Thor MCU movies. Like he's a bit of a CUNT.
Well, that's it. With these being mythological characters, there's a lot of scope that you can do to just redefine what that character is to suit your own franchise. Where Odin in the MCU and Odin in Assassin's Creed and Valhalla, they're based off the mythology, but they're not. It's not when no one's saying this is Odin. This is everything Odin is in like the original mythology.
Interpretation's always good. A little Easter egg for you, Richie. You know Surtur in Thor Ragnarok, big fire demon guy, voiced by none other than Clancy Brown, aka Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
Yeah,
nice little one in there. Right, let's move on, Richie. We've talked to death about Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft, but more to look out for. Check out the crossover stories. As we said, it's free. We are going to have our crossover look of the Valhalla Part 2 segment. At some point, we'll record it. I don't know when, Richie, but we'll get to it. Next story number 3 for the week. We've got a title that is coming to Stadia, confirmed for 2022, but we don't know when. So reading from our friends over at Stadia Source, Dan and the crew, The developers Dotemu have confirmed that Windjammers 2 is coming out with a January release date. However, Stadia will not be releasing on January as with other platforms. They've confirmed over on Twitter that it will be released later on Stadia. We'll let you know as soon as we've got information. So Windjammers, Richie, it's essentially, I don't know what is it volleyball?
I'm not entirely sure.
It looks like you'd get on an air hockey table.
It's almost like an air hockey table. The interesting thing about this is, I think this was in the initial slate of games announced for Stadia.
Was that not Windjammers 1?
It might have been Windjammers 1, but
we haven't got.
I don't think it ever came.
No, I don't think it did.
And until this news dropped, I completely forgot about it. I was like, actually, yeah, this is a game we were expecting for the last 2 years.
Yeah, now you're saying it out loud, I'm kind of thinking, I think you might be right. Is it on? Let's have a look. Let's do some live research for just Windjammers. Of course, if you are a fan of all things Stadia news, don't forget to head over to stadiasource.com to be kept in the loop. They do have a search bar. It's just got Windjammers 2 news, so it might just be kind of like...
I might be misremembering,
something in our mind. It sounds about right. As soon as you said it out loud, I was thinking, yeah, actually, that rings a bell for me too. But yeah, Windjammers 2, air hockey. Again, I don't think it's a massive game necessarily. It's probably an ideal pro game, quite frankly. But either way, it's delayed. It's coming a little bit later, which is unfortunate. But more games. We need something in the lineup for 2022.
On Dotemu, who are the developers of this game's website, they have an announcement. Windjammers 2 is set to toss on Google Stadia early 2020.
Huh.
So the game's already 2 years late, based on this.
Oh well, it might.
This post on their own website.
Oh well, they might just type the year wrong. I know usually throughout the entire January, I'll probably be typing 2021 until I realise that we've flipped over. Everyone does it. Moving on though, another title that hopefully will be coming, maybe not too late, but it has been confirmed. Our good friends Rebellion, Richie, of course, makers of Zombie Army, Strange Brigade, and the one and only Sniper Elite franchise, have announced this week that they are launching Sniper Elite 5. Snipers, the time has come to return to the battlefield. Launching simultaneously across Xbox Game Pass, Series X and S, PlayStation 4, 5, Epic, Steam, Windows Store, no Switch, and no Stadia mentioned, unfortunately. However, pardon me, with the franchise, of course, having many titles on the platform, we'd like to think it's a fair shot, but to go back to the game, we returned with elite marksman Carl Fairbairn travelling to France in 1944 to destroy Operation Kraken. Scopes at the ready, snipers. You can already add it to your Steam wish list at the moment. Of course, I'm reading from the blog here. As part of a covert US Ranger operation to weaken fortifications along the coast of Brittany, Carl makes contact with French resistance. Soon they uncover a secret Nazi project that threatens to end the war before the Allies can even invade Europe. Operation Kraken is Carl's mission to take out the high-ranking Nazi officers and end it once and for all. Based upon real events, tells a story with an expansive campaign, advanced gunplay, physics and traversal, high-caliber customization, invasive mode drop-in PvP, tense adversarial multiplayer? Never heard that word before.
Adversarial.
Is it adversarial? Don't like it. Either way, an enhanced kill cam, which we know Sniper Elite is famed for, those kind of like X-ray, bullet shot, bone crunching, testicle popping action. It's been announced, Richie, coming out next year.
Yep.
No Stadia announcement, which I'm surprised at. But then again, we're used to this, right?
Yeah. I'm not gonna have a rant. Like
we could.
I hope it comes to Stadia. I expect it to come to Stadia. I'll leave it there.
Well, I'm trying to think. Zombie Army and the rest of the titles, they weren't day and date. They came after the fact. Like Zombie Army was already out. Sniper Elite 4 was already on market. And as far as my memory serves, anyway. So getting it later wouldn't be no surprise. But I just think Rebellion, their games run great on Stadia for the most part, and they've supported them quite well with content. That we know they're only a AA studio, so they're not quite EA Ubisoft levels.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's just a shame. This would be one of the ones I would have earmarked for a definite.
Well, the fact that it's coming to Xbox One and PS4 as well as the new stuff
True.
suggests it's not going to be an issue of the power of the hardware.
Yeah, true. I mean, they were never the
I
most
don't know.
graphically intense titles anyway.
Maybe they're just the platforms that are confirmed at this time. Stadia might be still in the works.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
They might be still in discussions
as well. But this just goes to, I guess, titles for 2022 and beyond. We're very quiet on that. Well, on the Western front, funnily enough, as far as that goes. Following on from that, we also have an update from Zombie Army 4, which is coming. So Zombie Army 4 Dead War did tease an update for the month of December. They teased it actually back in October, I think, but it's finally arrived. Some of the features, if you guys are still playing Zombie Army 4, they've added new maps, new content, crossplay, only for PC and PlayStation yet, so give it time, we'll see, as we return to hell with countless zombie characters that appear in different missions as well. New guns, new weapons, new bundles, new customizations, new additions to the Horde mode. And specific though, they have added stuff for just Stadia. So they've gone back in and done a bunch of tweaks and fixes as well. But I know we've had a lot of fun in Zombie Army 4, Richie, but it's not something we've been back to in recent memory.
No, we played this year, or was it just last year?
I mean, if you ask me, I'd probably say it was this year, but
yeah,
time has been so weird since March 2020, it's hard to actually say if it was this year or last year.
Might have to look into it at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy Zombie Army 4. I'd enjoy Sniper Elite 5 more, though, if you're listening, Rebellion. Get over onto that one. But just a little bit of snippet news coming from that one. Another story of the week that's, again, loosely tied to Stadia is System Shock. Some of you may be familiar with the name System Shock, of almost like Bioshock fame. Koch Media. Of course, Richie, we listened to their presentation this summer. They teased a lot.
It was fantastic.
They teased a lot of titles, but they've got final confirmation. They've pulled a trailer together. For anyone not familiar, this is a System Shock remake of the original, intended initially to be a remaster of the cult 1994 sci-fi horror that's then ballooned in scope and it's taken on a whole different guise. So it's kind of gone, Richie, funny enough, back to the Splinter Cell story. It's gone from what was going to be a remaster and it's now been pivoted in towards a remake as it ballooned in scope, and I'm guessing their Kickstarter campaign took off more than they ever realised.
Which I think is good.
Yeah.
To be honest, like remasters can be fine for just bring things to the next into new generations and new hardware, but sometimes older games do need that remake treatment to really get the best out of it.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, as someone who hasn't played them but is a massive fan of Bioshock, there's essentially they're almost spiritual successors, but they're not connected. It's kind of Bioshock in space. So you're stranded, you're on your own. You get all these kind of human advancements on mechanics, similar to Cyberpunk, which gives you powers in turn, and it's a bit eerie. And you listen and read things through audio logs and environmental storytelling kind of thing. But again, 1994 was a long time ago by now. So
yeah.
Hopefully we won't have to wait too long. Again, the reason we bring it up is Koch Media. They've got a part of the Embracer Group, THQ Nordic, all those guys. They do have a lot of titles on the platform. So, again, actually, we should probably put a pin in it now and just say every bit of news we're probably going to talk about between now and whenever the next Google event is going to be speculation, because we don't. Again, it could be a whole episode. We know that we don't have a roadmap for 2022 beyond Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, and Rainbow Six Extraction, both from Ubisoft.
Yeah, the one thing I kind of reason why I think, although it's coming from Koch Media, why it might not come to Stadia is the fact that it's crowdfunded.
Yeah, but that could work.
That
both
makes
for
things
and against, couldn't it?
Yeah, but it's like they're not. If something's crowdfunded, they're not going to port it to a platform that they don't think might not see a good enough return on to take that extra load. I think they'd rather put that money into making the game better.
Yeah,
well, I think that is probably the downside of it.
But this is where you.
It also makes the scope for Google to just drop a bag of cash.
Yeah, like we like what you've seen. There's $500,000. How about you port it over? And for all we know, they could. Like, we don't know what tools these guys are working with. I saw this week people saying, we've seen Amazon Luna apparently looking to recruit people to work with Linux.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's not as part of the news because it's obviously Amazon Luna related and such, but interesting to see that the competition is now potentially, because again Microsoft has the whole Windows ecosystem nailed down, and I think these bigger companies like Amazon, Google and Epic are potentially looking at thinking, how can we disrupt it so Microsoft don't have the monopoly they've had for the last 3 decades.
Yeah, the thing with Linux is because it's open source, you can just take a build of Linux and do whatever the hell you like to it to make it suit your needs, which is basically what Google have done with Stadia.
Yeah. Where
Microsoft, your Windows is what it is.
Yeah.
Like Microsoft have the ability and their funds and the legal ability to make effectively a new version of Windows, which is what Xbox basically is. Xbox is Windows just with a lot of the crap ripped out that you don't need for a games console.
Like paint.
Yeah. Where Amazon on the back end might be looking at Windows and there's just a lot of stuff that they don't want in there. Either don't need in there, that's taking resources away.
Uh-huh.
But they can't get rid of because this is what is baked into Windows.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Again, it'll take some time before any of this comes to fruition. But yeah, again, System Shock. Don't really know much about it, but I've been a big fan and a big ask from me from the Stadia team and 2K has been get the BioShock trilogy on this platform. We think there's going to be something in the pipeline for next year. It's long rumoured. We know BioShock 4 is starting to see leaks and teasers coming out, and I would love kind of like a remake, a remaster. I know we only got the trilogy like a few years ago, so it's iffy, but it's great marketing to get your collection out, I think, before the next iteration. And the reason I like System Shock is because it's part of the same universe as BioShock. And after doing some research, Richie, we found out it's also part of the same world as Gone Home. If anyone's played Gone Home. Which is so
a weird
random.
One, but okay.
Yeah,
because these games are very, very, very different.
Indeed, yeah. There's some news out there, you can go find it, but there's references made in Gone Home to Minerva's Den, which is the BioShock 2 DLC, and vice versa to System Shock. So it's a
Gone
funny
Home
one.
though, good game.
It is a great game. I'd love, again, another title I'd love to see. That's one of the kind of conversations we'll probably talk about in the new year. But Stadia has managed to smash out 100 extra games this year, and they did over 100 last year. And I've seen the comparisons made with saying like Nintendo Switch and other platforms, how they didn't have anywhere near this output in their opening years. But
yeah,
it's a different world we're in.
We could go into it now, but I think there's a difference between quantity and quality.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in it for 2022.
Yeah.
But moving on to next story of the week, away from System Shock and some things that are coming. We know some things that are coming, albeit maybe a little bit later now. So the Division 2, back to some Ubisoft news, have tweeted out this week saying that their second year of content, which wasn't initially planned, but then the Division 2 has done so well for them, they announced in the summer that they're going to be doubling down and bringing us a whole other year of content for the Division. It's been delayed. So they put out a message asking, fellow agents, with new content being actively developed for the game, our ambition has always been to continue to deliver the best Division 2 experience for our dedicated players and newcomers alike. In order to achieve this goal, we've today made the decision to lay the upcoming apparel event as well as the February title update to later in 2022. We understand it's disappointing. We strongly believe that this extra time will allow us to create and continue building towards our vision for the future of the Division 2. So there's a bunch of delays that come with it, but again, I think this is obviously Ubisoft reacted to how well the Division took initially. I'm a firm believer that I really wish these games as a service, they didn't get sequels, they just became a platform unto themselves.
Yeah, I mean, from the first few stories in the show, I'm pretty much not a big fan of games as a service. But when games like The Division, that is what the game is. That is, from the ground up, this is part of the design of it. This isn't like, well, how do we make Assassin's Creed games as a service? This is what the game is. Like, if you like it, great, here you go. If you don't, then it's not for you. So I was like, I'm with you though for something like The Divisions. Like, just drop the number and just keep adding content.
Yeah.
I don't, unless the plan. Maybe if you're going to plan, this is what they could do with the Assassin's Creed Infinity treatment. Forget Assassin's Creed Infinity. Just make the Division Infinity.
Division Infinity.
And then just we're going to start. Here's a new world, and we're just going to keep adding to this.
Well, I mean, it's worked for. I know Destiny's a whole different kettle of fish, and I hate the fact that Destiny 2 is called Destiny 2 because inevitably we will get a Destiny 3 at some point. But we
might not though, because it keeps supporting Destiny 2. Well, it seems like they've made that leap.
Well, they made the commitment. It was like a 10-year plan, right? As soon as they launched, they said we have a 10-year plan, and they're obviously doubling down on it.
I think the plan was for Destiny as a series though, but it seems like they've just gone, you know what, we're just going to keep making more Destiny 2, because they finally eventually stopped pretending they weren't an MMO.
Yeah. But I like the Division, and I think it does have a place for, like, we've gone back to it. I think it might have been last year, I can't remember. But it's one of those where if it's just added content constantly, I would go back to it. Rather than give me a Division 3, just give me some new like online chapters, and we'll go from there. But
see, I like the Division, but I'd like it equally as well if other people weren't playing. The other people being in the world does nothing for me.
Yeah, you can cut them out. You can play it single player, but it makes the game hard.
Yeah.
It's ironic how we want single player, but we want games to be games of service, and it's again no wonder.
Well, I'm very much a big advocate. I'm a single player gamer pretty much through and through. I don't mind dabbling in multiplayer games, but that's just me. It's just what I want to get out of games.
If and when interesting one. But so it's been delayed, folks. But again, we would rather they delayed it and made it right, rather than it arrive early, fall off the cliff, drop off the radar, and then all of a sudden the Division's dead in the water until we get Division 3. I'd rather it was delayed a little bit. We get a massive boon next summer maybe at E3, big announcement, big reveal, new content is available now, and everyone logs back online and plays it. Like I'm sure we'll see with Destiny and the Witch Queen in the start of next year. Right. Richie, we have to take a side step at the moment. Would you like to join me in visiting the rumour mill?
Yeah, let's go.
Now, we don't usually visit the rumour mill. However, there's a couple of stories that I've dropped this week from a Twitter user, part of the Stadia community. You may know him. At Stoked for Good has done some digging, and his stories have been brought up on stadiasource.com. A couple of interesting tidbits that we'll dig into. We thought we'll give them a time of day because there's so many detailed ones back to back, and there are solid foundations in the fact that most of the news comes from LinkedIn, so like actual job listings, postings and stuff. The first one that we'll cover as part of the news story this week is Gloomhaven could be coming to Stadia. So if you're not familiar with Gloomhaven, it is an action RPG strategy game. Whether you are drawn to the lands of Gloomhaven by the call of adventure or an avid desire for the glimmer of gold in the dark, your fate will surely be the same. Lead a band of mercenaries through an unforgiving place where every choice is crucial. Carve your way through terrifying dungeons, dreadful forests and dark caves filled with horrific monsters and reap your rewards, or die trying. I don't really know what you put Gloomhaven down as. I know it says action RPG strategy, but what would you compare it to, Richie?
I don't really know. I don't know enough about the game. I've heard the name banded around, but it's never really been on my radar too much, so it's...
Yeah, I get Warcraft, World of Warcraft vibes from it.
I get Warhammer vibes from it more than Warcraft.
Right. Interesting. If you look at if you just watch the gameplay trailer, it's got a cartoon aesthetic. I think that's what's probably giving me the Warcraft vibes.
It seems to be a turn-based action RPG that's built on like a hexy grid system.
Yeah, so it's based on a board game, we should say, of the same name, and it does see players travel the world in a group of 2 to 4 mercenaries with kind of different classes and different abilities, and you fight and you battle stuff out. The rumour comes from a LinkedIn post, as we said, could be making its way because there's a designer who works at Flaming Fowl Studios, who are the developers behind the game, stating that he worked on a port for Stadia, so as part of his kind of CV, essentially. He was part of design and implementation for Gloomhaven, including Stadia porting. So that obviously is part of a personal CV on a jobs application board. So take it with a pinch of salt.
It'd be an odd thing to boast about though on a CV if it wasn't real. It's not like, it's if it wasn't real, I don't know why you'd put it on there. It's because it's not like a prestige. Oh yeah, I was porting Gloomhaven to Stadia. It's not like, oh yeah, I was a creative lead on Uncharted 2.
Yeah.
Like, it's a
See, I would have said yes, but remember this past summer, someone spent their entire time making a Mandalorian game to look like it was on Stadia.
That is true.
So this was a lot easier to do. Quickly type up a couple of.
But that guy
points.
actually made that though.
Yeah, he did completely. So he was the creative director on a fake Mandalorian game. Again, Stadia is such a weird one to get a read on because the variety of games on the platform undoubtedly is all over the place. We've got family, we've got action, we've got AAA, we've got indie, we've got pro, we've got touch implementation games, we've just kind of got a bit of everything, which is great. Spice is the flavour of life. What's the quote? Spice is the flavour of life? No, it's not. Life is... I don't know. I'm full of cold. Anyway, this is one theory we've got. I'm guessing it might be some point in the pipeline for 2022 at this point. Again, don't know too much about Gloomhaven, but
variety is the spice of life.
Variety, not spice, is the life of spice. I could do with some spice actually up my nose right now. I'm totally blocked. You know that triangle of your head, like your forehead to your kind of sinuses and stuff. Couldn't smell a thing right now. So sorry, again, audio listeners, if I sound a bit off today. And I've already drank, Richie. I'm through half of this because as I'm talking.
Yeah, as he's talking, he's just getting dry mouth. He's not well. Everyone's saying nice things to Chris in the comments.
Thanks. They'll say nasty things to me. Kind of like it either way. Next story. I've done it now. Next, don't laugh. Laughing is a coughing curse. Next rumour of the week comes from a similar thing. Again, stuff for good. This guy must have just scoured, like, shout out, credit where credit's due, scoured LinkedIn for any reference to Stadia. The next one comes from Behaviour Interactive, the team behind Dead by Daylight. They could be working on a yet unannounced project for Stadia because, again, let's dive over to another LinkedIn profile. Oh, is this LinkedIn or is this BHVR? Oh, it's still LinkedIn, yeah, definitely. Users, if I can get the full quote up, I will pull it up right now, Richie. Dead by Daylight. In the process, he said, Stream Connect, data-driven gameplay, ability system, Google Stadia optimizations, and Unreal Engine on an unannounced project. So, Gloomhaven, we had an idea because the guy worked on Gloomhaven. This one's a little bit more vague.
Yeah.
But it's from someone who worked at Behaviour Interactive, and we know Dead by Daylight gets a lot of support on the platform. It gets its updates.
It does. I'm less optimistic on this one than Gloomhaven because Gloomhaven seems to be like from a guy like, no, I worked on this thing. Yeah. Like this could be a cancelled game with the Stadia Games and Entertainment thing. If it's like if the game was designed specifically for Stadia. Yeah. This might have had the plug already pulled on us, unfortunately. Yeah. I hope it's real, but
when people say unannounced game, I also think that it could just be like DLC. So this could like the unannounced part of a game could just be. Actually, yeah, I was working on DLC with Stream Connect and Stadia porting.
Yeah, it could be. I think this one's got a little less substance to it.
It does. That's why it's in the rumour mill.
You never know. Yeah, you never know. It might not be a Stadia exclusive. It might just be some that he's working on the Stadia version of a game that's unannounced, which is very possible.
Yeah, that is very true.
But yeah,
and then the final spin of the wheel of the rumour mill is another one. Again, stuck for good. Another bit of digging finds a game software developer working at Ubisoft, and in his LinkedIn profile, he quoted, "I worked on an unannounced AAA game as a contractor for Ubisoft. The major tasks were porting the game to server to Linux and helping with porting to Stadia," which we know in tandem. We know Ubisoft are massive fans of Stadia, so could they be doubling down on the platform and bring us a new game? The team, in fact, was Globant, who have worked with Ubisoft in the past on porting other games, so no doubt they've probably spent some time working on all of the many Far Cry, Assassin's Creed ports. And this guy's done it. Yeah. Again, unannounced AAA. This is where you kind of have to read between the tea leaves and think, actually, has he possibly just maybe worked on the Blood Dragon part, and he's just saying it's unannounced AAA? It doesn't necessarily have to be a brand new title just because it's unannounced.
Yeah, that's the thing, and also it may have been announced since he wrote that.
Yeah, very true.
Again, if this is coming from like his CV uploaded to somewhere like LinkedIn, how often, you don't know how often people update it. This could be an out of date thing. Yeah. So that unannounced bit might have been, that could have been Far Cry. Yeah.
It must be
that came out earlier this year.
It's quite hard looking for jobs in the game industry where you're not really allowed to talk about probably in detail about the projects you're on.
Yeah.
You could be on one of the biggest games of the year, but you're not allowed to actually name drop. What it is.
Well, that's it. You'd have to, if you're in an interview situation, you're like, I can't name the thing or anything about really the game, but you can talk about the technical aspects of it, which is basically what you'd be getting hired for anyway.
I promise you it's good. Everyone lies on the CVs anyway. Or you should.
Yeah.
You should, because no one really reads them. But I think we'll leave the rumour mill, Richie, and go back to actually some substance. But if we get Gloomhaven, we get a new announced title that features Stream Connect from the Dead by Daylight crew, and we get, of course, another AAA. Again, it's not outside the realm of possibility. We know Ubisoft have done exclusives before. Like, look at the Rabbids on Switch, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So that they're open to it. And I'm sure if you give me enough money, part of my belief is definitely that Ubisoft are looking at Stadia to prop up their Ubisoft Connect for years to come. If Stadia,
the Ubisoft Plus,
if Stadia ever folded and went under or didn't exist, I'm very much under the belief that Ubisoft Connect will continue with Stadia's hardware, just as a standalone Ubisoft product.
Yeah, you can just get Ubisoft Plus, and then we'll host it ourselves on Google servers. We'll just pay Google.
Like, let's face it,
it's possible.
If you split every other game on Stadia and Ubisoft, if you separated the two, which would you say Ubisoft have probably made more money on Stadia than Stadia have?
I don't know. It's really hard to know. It's like Ubisoft have been intent on porting every single one of their games, but I doubt a lot of them are huge sellers on Stadia.
I'd love to see the numbers though.
So it'd be interesting how much money they've invested, how much they've actually got back. It'd be great to just see that breakdown. Ubisoft went, we've spent this much money porting games and we've earned this much money selling games on the platform. Yeah. I really don't know which way it could come down. I could almost see it as being Ubisoft have almost taken net loss on this. Because Stadia playbase isn't huge.
But you don't know what deal Google have given them to port all their games across. Like, we've got all of their AAA titles for the last 2 years, day and date. The only one I think we're missing is Prince of Persia, and that's been delayed. Yeah. So
for good reasons.
With confidence, we can talk about Splinter Cell with probably a lot of confidence because we've had Far Cry, we've had Valhalla. We've had Odyssey, we've got Origins. They're going into the back catalogue as well, so I think that's another thing with the Ubisoft conversation is not only they're putting out their day-and-date AAA games, they're also going back over and bringing us Far Cry 4. Blood Dragon comes out. I know, actually, there is a bit of a pin for Blood Dragon because it's actually out now for Far Cry 6 Season Pass holders, but we have to wait till January. But they are doing it. They're still going back and digging in.
I don't. Ubisoft is the only publisher that I would safely say pretty much any game they announce will probably be coming to Stadia. But that. So I don't know.
But we must talk about Richie on the topic of Stadia. In the Christmas season, pardon me. Yeah. The 12 Days of Stadia campaign. It's not a main story. Yeah. We didn't want it to be a main story. But we can't do an episode of the Sounds of Stadia podcast without acknowledging the 12 Days of Stadia, which kicked off on Twitter this past week. And I know anyone who follows Stadia on social media will have seen this. You just need to look at the comments to understand the vibe that people are feeling on this particular matter. We won't go into it here, but just to give people a bit of a breakdown, they tweeted out on the 14th of December... and I quote, "Need a little extra holiday cheer? We got you. We're kicking off 12 days of Stadia, 12 days of deals and games for you to gift to your friends, family, or keep yourself. We're not here to judge, do you? Keep your eyes peeled for the daily deals," and then a sideways glance eye emoji. That, of course, created some confusion, which they then had to quote their own thing, like retweet on their own thread. We might have caused some confusion, folks. Think of these deals as our gifts to you. Unfortunately, the store doesn't currently support game gifting to other users, so you might need to keep them for yourself. That was just the beginning.
Yeah, this is before the first deal was announced.
So I mean, yeah, this could be a whole rant and a whole thing unto itself. I think we can both agree, Richie, without delving into it, this was a mistake from both of us.
It's a mistake. It was worded poorly, and it hasn't been received well, and the deals so far haven't really been them. Like, day one was play Destiny for free.
Yeah. We'll break down the deals to give people a bit of context. So we're almost at the halfway point. At the time of recording, we've had 5 days of deals in quotes, and we'll see. Day one got them off to a bad start. Played Destiny 2 for free. Destiny 2 has been free since November 2020.
Free-to-play game.
Over a year. Not that much of a deal.
I mean, you can argue there's some truth to it, because with Stadia you don't need to buy anything to play it. You could just, I've got an old Chromebook, I can now play Destiny for free if you have a Gmail account.
Yes.
Without giving anyone any money.
Yeah.
So, But
again, it's the context of the whole thing, which is why I think it's...
As a Christmas present from Stadia, it's not a deal that you're offering, really. That's just the concept. I've just described the concept of the platform.
Yeah, it's some combination between the wording, the timing, the content within, the community and the audience as a whole, all stacked up against it. Because then we moved on to day 2, which was the Assassin's Creed 3 remaster sale, which the sale was already live the day before. So we already knew about it. I'd already looked at it. People were talking about it. Ubisoft were talking about it. Then that followed.
I don't think this one's too bad, to be honest, because there is actually a sale associated with it.
True, on a very old game though. At the same time, but again, this is where we could delve in and break it apart bit by bit, but we won't. Day 3 was the Spiritfarer update for the game, the final complete one, which we covered on last week's show. So again, a bit out of touch. The developers have already tweeted about it. I've seen it on other podcasts and stuff all week long. And then that's day 3 of a daily deal and gifts. Day 4 moved on to being Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is free to play this weekend. So at the time of recording, it was the weekend just gone. Again, we blah 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 blah. We could rip them apart for this, but we're not going to. It's clearly, I'm sure it was a mistake. It was worded wrong. And then to wrap things up, Dead by Daylight is getting a Ringu crossover.
Yeah, I think for me, to sum up these 5 deals that we've got so far, none of them seem to be a Stadia thing. The closest we could come is the Assassin's Creed free sale and Odyssey free-to-play weekend. Spiritfarer update was something that the devs wanted to do, and they wanted to make it free of charge. Destiny 2 is free to play anyway, and Dead by Daylight Ringu crossover was going to happen regardless.
Yeah,
I just don't see Stadia involved in these. They just put them in a tweet, but
yeah, like the reality is we could ourselves go, oh, it's Helix Cloud Games Christmas celebration, and we could retweet the exact same information.
Yeah,
with it probably sooner and quicker. Again, I think the problem is it got off to a bad start by just the wording of that initial setup.
Yeah.
Of saying that we're going to give you daily deals that you can gift to your friends and family. I get the concept of what they were going for, but in Twitter, context and tone is so hard to convey.
Yeah, well, it's the fact that we're going to give you daily deals, you can gift them to your friends and family. You can't gift them to your friends and family, and then day 1 was a free-to-play game that's been free-to-play for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's well, you're just telling us about something that's on the platform. You haven't done anything, and there's the tone for the entire marketing camp, the entire push, just soured immediately. Oh well.
Indeed. Well, again, they've still got many days left until Father Christmas arrives, so they could remedy this. I'm sure. People stateside apparently are getting a 3 months pro.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Not Europe or Canada or otherwise, but you know what? Still time. Christmas magic could still happen, but I'm sure in hindsight they're probably thinking they should have just kept quiet and retweeted this news out as just normal news posts. Maybe do it this week on Stadia. All of these stories could have rounded up to a blog post this past Tuesday or Thursday, which...
Yeah, if they just pushed this as a blog post with all 12 of them in there, it probably wouldn't have went down as bad.
Yeah. Now, it's Monday, Richie. Before Christmas, we are probably due a blog post this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, whichever day it ends up being. Is there a chance all of these stories from these 12 days are just going to be in the blog post this week?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty good chance.
Either way, let's move on, shall we? Again, we're not trying to hate. If you want that, just go look at the comments on any social feed, and you will see that it is not looking fresh out there. But you know what? We'll move on. We'll move on as we always do. Got more important things in life to worry about. Next up, though, Danny Trejo, Machete himself, Richie, is appearing finally in Far Cry 6. Now, if you remember a few weeks back on the podcast, I mentioned this popped up in my game because this story DLC leaked many weeks ago when I was playing Far Cry 6. I've moved on now, and it's came back out. He's appeared with Trejo's Tacos and some story content on the island of Yara. It's a celebrity crossover interaction tie-over thing. Not really much more to say about it, but if you want to jump back into Far Cry 6, it's not quite the same level as Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Odyssey crossing over with Cassandra. We just got a celebrity who's got his own taco business, who's getting some free marketing within a fictional world. And again, he's a badass, Danny Trejo. I do appreciate
and the fact that it was accidentally the big story around this has already happened. The fact that it was accidentally released and then pulled.
Yeah, but you get a fight alongside.
But yeah, it's more Far Cry 6 for people.
Exactly, and it's free, so go check it out. It's got a lot of tongue-in-cheek comedy with him, I'm sure. I might jump back in and fight the Revolution. But that's one of our final stories for the week. We've got an update for Serious Sam. Any fans out there of the Crow Team title Serious Sam? That's having some new DLC too. It's been teased this week. We don't know quite what it is yet. They dropped a cryptic tease over the last weekend, about 34 seconds, and it ends with the description, man, it's cold. Probably something to do with ice or winter. Of course, Serious Sam 4 has now had its release on all platforms, so it's probably seen some more love than it has done over the last year or so. The Crow Team have had a bit more time to refine it. Everyone seems quite impressed. And it's an interesting one with Serious Sam, because that was the one that was touted as like only possible on Stadia, with all the enemies and environments, and then evidently it's not.
Well, that was just back in the PS4 era though, so...
True. I enjoyed it. It just felt like a game out of time. Didn't do anything like amazing, but more content coming. Hell, I don't even know if it's coming to Stadia, which is the weird thing. It's the like ironic twist as it came out first on Stadia, and obviously the trailer hasn't been fully announced, but there's no logos on it, so the irony could be within. But we'll hang fire for that one. Probably not have to wait too long into the new year. I'm guessing if it's to do with ice, they probably want to get it out during winter to kind of capitalise on seasonal content.
Yeah, probably.
Did you ever play? Because we got the Serious Sam trilogy on Pro. Did you ever jump in and check it out?
I didn't. I think I played one or two of them before on like Steam, so I kind of knew what the franchise was about.
Yeah,
it's fine for what it is. It's a double A action shooter. It's a bit of daft fun, but it's not really the sort of game that I'm gonna spend a lot of time playing.
Daft.
Unless it has a really hooks me, which is rare for something like that.
Yeah, daft fun indeed. Just like Riders Republic. Speaking of winter content, actually, Riders Republic is getting a winter bash. New seasons, events, exotics, exclusive gear, unique outfits, new features. What more to say with Riders Republic, Richie? We did a first look on the channel. We had loads of fun with it. However, I think we both did say it's not a game we drop a full price purchase on. We'd probably pick it up on Ubisoft Plus or on a free to play weekend.
My thing with Ubisoft Plus is I tend to focus like on one game for an extended period of time before moving to the next one, and Ubisoft Plus hasn't yet appealed to me to the point where okay, this is the game I want to play. I was thinking about it with Far Cry. I was thinking about it with things like Watch Dogs, and it just with Rainbow Six Siege, and I just never end up getting Ubisoft Plus. But this is one of the games that I think I would jump into every now and again if I had it.
Yeah, if it was sat there on your dashboard, just click, jump in, play.
Or if this was on sale down to maybe £30, I'd probably pick it up.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah. Ubisoft sales come thick and fast, and we'll probably get January sales to boot. But yes, happy holidays on the Ridge. Head out there. Don't slip on the snow, because riding a bike in snow is quite hard with that minimal friction you get on the thin wheels, but we digress. Final story for the week. A new update will soon be arriving for Humankind. It is unfortunately coming a bit later to Stadia. It's going to be coming in about the April time. They've confirmed. Don't really know what the update's going to bring. I think it's just a major update. No actual news in there other than the update, but it's delayed. Humankind coming, and I've noticed as well the patch update. I should point out right at the end of the show here is 100 days. One of the lead developers over there has tweeted out saying that they're hoping to get the touchscreen input sorted for Christmas. I think 21st of December.
Oh, cool.
He tweeted out saying he showcased a clip of him dragging a farm or part of the vineyard over using his finger on his phone. So imminent.
100 days is fun.
It's through testing right now. It's still a pro game to claim, so go pick it up, play it over Christmas, because who doesn't like mulled wine from the vineyard? But Richie, that brings us to an end of episode 117 of this very festive special edition of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. We've rounded up all the news for your listening or viewing pleasure, however you check out the show. We're going to have probably a bit of content drop on the channel over Christmas as per usual. Keep locked to the channel for our very special New Year's episode. We're going to be talking about Game of the Year, our Stadia Game of the Year, so we'll dish out some categories. We're very excited as well. We may have a special guest to round out the year, so keep your eyes peeled on that one. We are going to be recording it a little bit early, so if we do get any major news that drops on like Christmas Eve, sorry, but we're going to take some time off. We'll no doubt tweet about it. We'll be aware of it. We just won't cover it on next week's show because again, we're only human, and quite frankly, I want to go chill, spend some time, recover from this damn cold. I don't know if you can sense it yet, Richie, but either my brain has stopped working in the last 20 minutes. I'm starting to sniff. I need to go blow my nose. I've drank about half a gallon of liquid, and I need to take a break before we go and record Side Quest. What are we talking about?
Make yourself a cup of tea. We're talking about the best Stadia presents this year.
Presents or presents?
Presents, as in gifts. Presents.
Gifts.
Not presents, as in where is it?
Where have they been? Although that could be a side quest as well.
That was last week.
That was last week's side quest. Remember, side quest is for our members. You can get it up to 6 days early by clicking join on the YouTube video below for as little as 99p. Support me, support Richie, support Tom, and buying medicine, cough syrup.
Someone please buy Chris some medicine.
Antibiotics and all the rest. But you know what? We don't need that. We just need your love and support. And a bit of downtime, a bit of rest. So yes, once again, thank you for sticking with us throughout 2021 up until this Christmas time. Don't forget to have some much deserved rest and time with your family, your friends, playing some games, being merry, and just having a good time. And we'll be back same time next week. Nearly knocked the head off my little baby Yoda here as he celebrates. He's getting violent. I know he is. Yeah. Sorry. No, you. I'm getting violent. He gets violent. He's stronger than me. That's it for episode 117. Thank you very much, everyone. My name's been Chris. And I've been Richie. So it's a Merry Christmas from me. It would usually be a Feliz Navidad from Tom, but he's not here. And as per tradition, Richie, we throw it over to you to give our lovely German audience out there. Frohe Weihnachten. Perfect. Das ist gut. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great Christmas. See you next Monday for our Game of the Year edition. Have a great week. Be merry. Goodbye. Oh my word, I need to blow my nose so much.